Hello everybody, welcome back to the Chub. This week we'll be discussing Judas and the Black Messiah. We just watched it. Not just watched it, we watched it last week.
That's true. We did watch it last week.
Gentlemen, how do we feel about Judas and the Black Messiah?
I thought it was good. I liked it overall. Didn't think it was a perfect movie or anything, but it was a good flick. It was a good flick of the bean.
Yes.
It did make me want to flick the bean.
It did. No, I really liked this movie. I think I liked it a lot more than Isaac did, but that's not like all that important. All I'm saying is I really enjoyed this movie, and I think they did just about everything right.
You saw it twice, right?
I have seen it twice. I saw it once in the theater the day it came out, and I saw it once with you guys on
General
HBO
question:
Max.
Was it better the second time?
I don't know. I think overall, like I noticed a few more things the second time around that I didn't quite catch the first time, because the first time I was just kind of like along for the ride, like letting it, the experience and everything. But there were a few smaller details that I caught on to, having seen it once already, and I was like, oh, okay, I get that. But I wasn't like lost or anything when I saw it the first time.
Was it better the second time? Is what
Was
I
it
asked.
better the second time? I mean, I guess. I just wasn't seeing it in the theater the second time, so it was a different overall experience.
Answer the question.
I think I answered the question the best I can. It's not a simple yes or no.
Talk about beating around the bush, Jeremy.
It's not a simple yes
You're
or no
used to
question.
that, aren't you?
I'm used to beating around your bush.
So, gentlemen,
Fucking,
I think we can agree that this was a great movie. What was our favorite parts about it? Isaac?
Well, Daniel Kaluuya's acting. I mean, he knocked it out of the park, just by an arm and a leg. I mean, just. You know, sometimes you see people play historical roles, and they do a pretty good job. But I mean, when they had that clip at the end of the movie of Fred Hampton actually talking, I mean, Daniel Kaluuya hit the nail on the head. I mean, his inflection was perfect. His dictation was perfect. I don't want to call it an accent, but like his dialect was right there. It was everything you could have asked for. It sounded almost identical, which I really liked. I mean, that takes an impressive amount of skill to do. Yeah.
And I think as far as that's concerned, this was his movie.
Absolutely.
100%.
Based on he would steal the spotlight every time he was on screen.
Absolutely.
Even if the scene wasn't about him, there was so much power to this performance. And I mean, honestly, you could have just an audio file of both of them talking and probably not know who the real Fred Hampton is.
Yeah.
From how close he sounds to Fred Hampton.
And one thing that I think, you know, from a physical aspect that Daniel Kaluuya has going for him is his face is naturally very like calm looking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He doesn't do a lot with his eyes, which I think is great because it, you know, especially at the time that this movie takes place, you know, the 60s, the 70s, you know, these people were these people. I should never have worded it. But the Black Panthers and a lot of civil rights activists were labeled as just angry black men. And I think that Daniel Kaluuya and that calm demeanor that he carries about him, along with his excellent execution of you know, being Fred Hampton, made him come off as a calm but powerful presence without coming across as necessarily like violently angry, if that makes sense.
Well, and it definitely helps to the character of Fred Hampton as well.
That's what I'm saying. Absolutely, it did a good job of labeling him as a good guy, but who would also at the same time take whatever means necessary, you know, to get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very charismatic guy, a very righteous guy.
Right.
My dad pointed out after we saw that movie the first time I was with him, he said that we never see Fred Hampton directly cause violence to anybody. He never raises a hand against anybody. He's all about using
very
his
pacifist.
Words. Yes. Yeah, he's very pacifistic, but not in like oh, I'm a wimp kind of way, but just like his ideals are to get people to follow him based on like persuading them that it's the right thing to do. That he talks to all the different like gangs in Chicago, and they all start to work together. They have something called the Rainbow Coalition, where everybody from like that entire neighborhood bands together to fight for what's right. And that wouldn't have happened without somebody like Fred Hampton, who was charismatic enough to rally those guys together.
Right. He wasn't the only good actor though. I mean, I feel like I only had one exception in terms of not great acting, and I didn't like Jesse Plemons' character, but everybody else I thought did a really good job. Lakeith.
You did not say that.
I don't know what his name is.
Lakeith.
Lakeith.
It's Lakeith.
Lakeith.
No, it's Lakeith.
Okay. Lakeith.
Lakeith Stanfield. Lakeith Stanfield.
Lakeith. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, Lakeith does a great job in the minor portion he's in. He's
it's really
portrayed
weird,
as the main character, at least in the beginning.
He's the Judas.
But the movie's kind of taken over by the Black Messiah, who is Fred Hampton.
Yeah.
Daniel Kaluuya just overpowers Lakeith Stanfield in the role of Fred Hampton. It's not even a question. This is going to get Daniel Kaluuya an Oscar nom for sure.
Absolutely, hands down.
Well, based on that scene where he's giving the revolutionary speech, I think it's a certified win.
Fucking goosebumps. That scene just as a whole, there's so much that goes on there.
It was very empowering. And I wish we would have seen more of that throughout the movie. You know, the Black Panther Party was very action oriented, but they did more than just sit in a church and they did more than sit in a church and chant and kill police officers. They did so much more than that.
Yeah, they did a lot of talking about doing stuff
and
never actually showing, except for the children in the school and feeding them.
But even that was part of like such a minor montage. It was like a here you go, and then on with yourself. I would have liked to see, you know, some of the key pivotal moments that took place during that civil rights movement. You know, sit-ins, is that what they're called?
Yeah,
sit-ins, marches on, you know, Washington, and, you know, in this case it would have been
this was after like the Martin Luther King stuff.
After he was assassinated. But
yeah,
still
it starts off in late 1968, which would be just after MLK was assassinated.
But it was still, I mean, that premise was still there that, you know, I just feel like a lot of the action that you saw take place from the Black Panthers was violent. And
it was also, like, we only saw the Chicago chapter of the Black Panthers. We didn't see...
Well, right. But they still stood for the same... They still stood for the same things.
But it's not like it was all about the Black Panthers as, like, a whole. It was just the Chicago chapter.
Right. I just think that it did... The movie itself made it seem like a gang with good intentions and not necessarily an activist group, which is what they were. They were an activist group.
Yeah, a very extreme activist group, but yes.
Right. But not so extreme that all they did was kill cops.
Right.
What I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think maybe that was one of the things they might have struggled with as far as balancing the script, because I think it's very likely that as a filmmaker you would want to include all of that.
Absolutely. But I'm not saying they should have eliminated it by any means. It's important because it happened.
It can be difficult, I think, to make a movie, especially a movie like this that's about just real events that happened, and include everything that might possibly be relevant, because when it comes down to it, you're making a movie, you're not making a documentary. That would be a little bit different.
Well, I understand
the movie, they have to focus on what is our story, what's most important to the story, what can we not live without as far as this story is concerned. But
for me, I just think that you know, you got to replace some stuff. And for me, I would have liked to seen less dialogue between Jesse Plemons and Lakeith. I forget his last name.
Lakeith Stanfield.
Judas and
Judas and the FBI agent at the time. FBI, CIA.
He was FBI.
FBI. I would have cared for some of that dialogue, but maybe not as much of it, and replace that with some of the actions that were led by Fred Hampton's girlfriend / wife. Did they ever get married, or was it?
I don't think so, but they were together.
Right. She was definitely more.
Yeah, he died before that could happen.
She was still fiery, but she was a lot more calmer. I see her as the type.
She was more articulate.
Yes, yeah. I would have seen her as
probably
the
one
most
articulate
leading
one.
Things like I thought they were all pretty articulate.
Well, I mean, she was.
You could tell that she was educated. God, there's no way to word this good.
Well, yeah,
that's what it is. Like,
right.
She was the most, like, literally, I guess. Literarily educated.
Yes.
Because she was talking about poetry and
she applied and became one of their speechwriters.
Yeah, absolutely. She was a good writer. There was a lot going on there. she kind of, I feel like, was the one that bridged the gap that made the Black Panthers party kind of a combination of Martin Luther King Jr. and his ideals and his like powerful presence in the movie or in the movement, and like the Malcolm X side of the movement, which was very action oriented. You know,
we want it
now. And it combined the two, and she felt like she bridged that gap. She was still enraged and wanted action, but she was also preparing speeches that matched kind of the same tone that Martin Luther King Jr. would have had.
Yeah, I agree. I think she was definitely like the balance between those two ideals, where she saw both sides, I think, probably the most objectively.
Yeah.
You know, Fred Hampton was a very righteous dude, and based on what we see in the movie, he can only see it from that one point of view, but she is kind of an outsider, at least at first, and she sees like both sides and decides to join up just to, you know, maybe help make things a little bit more peaceful, a little bit more calm, but she's also 100% about the movement, and she never wavers to the cause at any point.
Yeah. I very much liked the cinematography of this movie.
Man, the cinematography.
Do you know who did the cinematography?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Jamie, pull that up.
Jamie, pull that up.
Okay, give me just a second.
This is a guy to watch out for. Whoever did it,
I'm
going to be keeping an eye out for any movie he's working on. Also, the director...
Shaka King.
Shaka King.
Mm-hmm.
Shaka King, this was very, very well directed, in my opinion.
Sean Bobbitt.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Sean
Bobbitt.
Mm-hmm. Did he
John
also
Lorraine Bobbitt?
No. Bobbitt. Bibbidi Bobbidi.
What else did he do?
He did 12 Years a Slave.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a pretty big,
was he
cinematographer. I just couldn't remember.
12 Years a Slave. I mean, that's still a pretty monumental.
Wow, okay. I mean,
monumental.
Did he win an Academy Award for that? Not saying like this is like Academy Award worthy cinematography, but
it's still good.
It's still freaking good, and it was a lot better than what did we watch last?
He won a BAFTA. He won a BAFTA for 12 Years a Slave.
Okay, so yeah, he did win an award.
Okay, we're good for that guy. He deserved it. And this movie, a lot of worthy of some nominations. I don't know what else. We'll see what else comes out this year, but this could be a contender for
Film of the Year,
as well as Daniel Kaluuya getting Best Actor.
Yeah, I mean,
definitely.
I don't see anything projected. I don't see anything coming out this year that's going to top it in terms of just pure.
It's definitely setting the bar pretty high
for the rest of
it. Absolutely, especially it's definitely setting the bar high for HBO Max as a streaming service.
Absolutely.
Even though little things came out before this, and that was pretty much the first new thing to come out on HBO Max, and it was horrible and garbage, and I never want to think about it again.
Netflix movie.
It felt like a very crappy Netflix movie. That imagine if you had gone to the theaters to see that movie.
I'm so glad I didn't. But I never had any interest.
It only lost in ticket office sales last weekend.
Box office
sales by 0.1 million.
Judas
and the Black Messiah only topped
somehow.
The Little Things by 0.1 million.
You know why?
That's probably because nobody's going
Star Power
to the theater.
Lakeith Stanfield and Daniel Kaluuya are still kind of slept on as far as
they're fairly new.
They are new
compared to Rami Malek and Denzel Washington and Jared Leto.
Yeah. I mean they all have. If you see the trailer, so anybody that sees the trailer, even if they don't know movies, they know something about.
They know. Denzel Washington.
Well, the Academy.
He's in great movies.
They see Academy Award winner Jared Leto, Academy Award winner Rami Malek, Academy Award winner Denzel Washington. Oh, I better go see that. It's gonna be great. And they go and see it, and they're like, "Am I stupid or is this movie bad?"
Well, I can't remember which movie it was, but I remember seeing a trailer for that movie and a trailer for Judas and the Black Messiah side by side. And because I saw a trailer for
Judas and the Black Messiah were great.
Oh man, the first one back when I saw Tenet, I was like, "Whoa, what is this movie? I've got to go see that." I couldn't fucking wait.
I think the problem is I can see a lot of people, not me obviously, but like a lot of given the current political climate, I can see a lot of people not going to see it because of the political implication.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why this movie came out.
Racist.
Yeah.
That's why this movie came out now.
What I liked about this movie was it never threw any of that in your face. I think it was very fair and balanced in the way it told its story.
It was very effectively anti-cop.
Yes.
I enjoyed that.
Well, and because I think it was a fair representation of the way things were in the 60s. You saw those cops, there's this one guy on a bullhorn who's drinking a can of beer. It's like, well, that's the type of shit cops would do.
So that's
the type of shit
that's actually one of my problems with the movie, because our ideals align with that, but those Blue Lives Matter people are going to look at that and say, "Oh, well, the Black Panthers were just cop killers."
Oh, this movie.
I know that wasn't targeted.
This movie is not meant for everybody.
I agree with that.
Those people who are the Blue Lives Matter advocates probably aren't necessarily into reason. So we talked about the acting.
Yeah.
Stellar acting. We talked about cinematography.
I don't know if we talked about that quite enough.
I just asked who the cinematographer was.
I mean, it's hard. I mean, like, if you want to see the good shots that we're talking about, go watch the fucking movie. It's a great watch. You're not gonna lose anything by watching it. You'll see.
You're gonna enjoy about every single minute.
Yeah,
you're gonna thank yourself for watching it. Like he said, you're gonna enjoy every minute of it. You're gonna look at your watch or your phone later. You're gonna be like, wow,
2.5 hours.
Yeah,
just went by really quick.
That was real fast.
Another thing that is another thing that is another thing.
Score.
Yes, the score. Another reason you have to watch this movie.
Good.
Beautiful score.
It was amazing. I mean, what they did really well is the entire score was influenced by music with African American origin.
Yeah.
Jazz, blues,
and also the time period.
Absolutely,
absolutely relevant to the time period.
I mean, not all of it, because jazz, I mean, that comes from like the Harlem Renaissance, which was way before the 70s.
Well, yeah, but
jazz is also
it's very influential
as well, and probably around the time that
without jazz, you wouldn't have modern music.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Without jazz, I mean, they just jazzed all over the place. Is what
they use the same saxophone riff.
At the beginning,
beginning, and then towards the end of the movie.
Yeah, so it starts off with that right after they're doing like the interview for that documentary that aired in PBS in like 1990, and then that music when he's walking down the street and walks into the bar, and then at the end when he's talking to Lil Rel Howery and he's like, "Yo, show me your badge." And he hands it to him, and it's his fucking badge.
It's his badge. It's like
his fake,
his fake badge from the
which was such a great moment.
Yeah, we don't want to spoil too much. This is definitely a movie worth watching.
That brings up another point about acting. We spent a lot of time talking about Daniel Kaluuya, but I thought that Lakeith Stanfield, one thing that he did really well is you could tell that he was kind of uneasy the entire movie, which worked. He was very nervous. He was nervous when he was around Jesse Plemons' FBI character. He was nervous when he was around the Black Panthers. I mean, you could tell that there was really like an internal conflict there between which side he was really going for. There were times where he was definitely, despite betraying them all, really felt like he was leaning towards the Black Panthers.
I think that's why this movie works so well, is because you see his internal conflict the entire time. He starts off, he's like, well, I've got busted for Grand Theft Auto. I could go to jail for 6 years, or I could help the FBI. And he's like, "Well, I'm gonna."
Or I could pause the advancement of African American people. Yeah,
but see,
they also do a very good job. They also do a very good job of allowing his acting to show that, and not having characters in the movie say, "Oh, you seem really nervous."
It wasn't in the dialogue.
Yeah.
I think that is a lost art.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
every movie now is like
movie speak for itself, letting the
you
visual
angry
spectacle.
You seem anxious.
Hulk mad.
You seem depressed. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Like. Yeah, this movie does a great job of allowing the acting to speak for itself.
Yes, there's a lot of things that are said that aren't in the dialogue.
Yeah, there's no actors speaking inner thoughts like you would read in a novel. Like,
Thank
he felt
God.
uneasy. There's no people saying that. It's just like you look at him, you can tell.
Now.
He feels like shit about what he's doing.
Well, like even speaking to Lakeith's performance, even when he was trying to act like he was feeling powerful at the moment, like there was one scene later on where he goes to Jesse Plemons' character with sunglasses on. He's trying to act all cool.
Yeah.
But then he's like, well, actually,
Not so much.
You can't do anything because we got you on for 22 years or whatever.
Well, they had him on I think 6 years. He could go to prison.
No, it was 20 some years.
No,
it was not.
It was 18 months.
It was 18
It
months.
was 18 months for the Grand Theft Auto. 5 years for impersonating a federal officer.
It was like compared to
it's 7 years.
What the
7 years a slave.
What the Black Panther movement needed to do. 6 years should have really seemed not maybe all that much,
But I mean, the reason why it's called Judas and the Black Messiah is Judas betrayed Christ for $30 basically, and then in this movie he betrayed the Black. 30 pieces of silver.
Yeah.
I don't know what that
Black
equals in
Messiah
USD, but it's 30 whatever, and then Lakeith Stanfield Bill, he betrayed the Black Panthers to basically get out of having to go to jail.
So
they're both very self-serving.
And again, another reason that I really like the title is because this is gonna sound dark, but I mean, after betraying Jesus, Judas hangs himself.
Yes.
And the guy who betrays Fred Hampton, granted, it was many years later.
Yeah, but it was after the documentary.
It was after the documentary.
It said the day that the documentary aired, he committed suicide that night.
Which is it put into perspective all the shit that he had done.
I think
it really just sent him over the edge.
Well, and that's a humanity thing. I mean,
because at that point, when that documentary airs, then everybody knows what this guy did, and he can't live with that.
Yeah, he can't live with the fact that only a few people knew he was fine. At least it was still weighing on his mind, but then everybody knows now. I gotta kill myself.
Yeah,
which is just it's heavy stuff.
Heavy books.
It's a reference only you and I are ever gonna get. Yeah. We will review the Crucible movie with Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yes.
Which I don't remember anything about. But
except for that. Yeah. I remember it was about that and witch trials. I remember some naked virgins in the woods.
Yes.
That's about it.
Yes. Anyways, what the fuck did we think of the movie? Did we like it, gentlemen? What are our Chub reviews?
This movie.
Piece of shit. You're wrong. You're dumb and wrong.
No, this movie was amazing.
Yes, I agree. Full Chub for me.
Full maximum torquage.
Full Chub.
Yeah, it wasn't perfect. It was because nothing's perfect. Perfection is a myth. But
time is a concept.
It did a lot. It did enough good things right for me to be like, that was a great movie. Probably one of the better movies we've seen in a while, I would say.
There are so many what I would consider textbook filmmaking moments in this movie.
Yeah, Tenet was good, but it was just a different kind of movie.
Yes.
This is.
Well, yeah, it was a Chris Nolan movie. That's
the only difference.
There's a category.
It was actually the same movie, but Chris Nolan.
There's Chris Nolan movies, and then there's other movies.
Yes, that's true. Except for we're not going to talk about Chris Nolan's involvement with the Snyderverse, but
we can.
We should.
We should briefly discuss what we're planning on doing. So we are planning on doing a full-on Snyderverse kind of review. And kind of a look back, a retrospect, if you will.
For when the Snyder Cut
comes out. March 13th, I believe it is.
18th.
Should we just have a shot of us standing in a field scratching our heads going, gosh, where did it go wrong?
So for those who don't know...
The formation of it was wrong.
Yes. For those who don't know, this is my first endeavor into the Snyderverse. I've always been a DC fan, but... when Batman vs Superman came out, I actually rented it for real, on Amazon or something, and I didn't get through the opening sequence of the Jeep commercial because Bruce Wayne driving a fucking Jeep Patriot.
It's egregious.
Through Metropolis.
It's egregious.
Was just awful. So this is my first dip in the water. Tonight I'm gonna see Justice League for the first time. Got some strong opinions, so this is new for me.
Yeah,
I don't get to simmer on it.
So the Snyderverse consists of Man of Steel, BVS. I would say Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
technically Aquaman. Technically Aquaman.
No, not Aquaman.
Yes,
because he was already out by the time Aquaman came out.
Well, it's still part of the Snyder.
It's still part of the Snyder.
I guess.
I'm not gonna go watch it.
Don't watch it.
So is Shazam. But
Shazam, I like Shazam a lot.
I've heard good things about Shazam.
So
like
Zack
Wonder
Snyder's
Woman good, Shazam pretty good, the rest not so good.
But we'll have
Man of Steel was okay.
Yeah, okay, yeah, Man of Steel was
Man of Steel was okay, but it's only okay because
Amy Adams is hot.
It's a bit of a darker version of Superman than what we had previously had.
Yeah, if you compare it to the 1978 Richard Donner Superman movie, which has an amazing fucking score, by the way, by John Williams.
From, like, the
but then if you go and look at the rest of the shit that this Superman has been in, you're like, okay, well maybe it's not that good.
Yeah.
But
we'll give him a full insight.
Yeah. So planning on doing a Snyderverse episode.
Should we apologize to our audience for doing that?
No. Well, we're gonna have a lot.
I think
of
it's relevant.
Shit
It's relevant.
to say,
Oh,
so
okay.
they're gonna enjoy it.
I mean, you're right. It is.
They're gonna enjoy it. It's gonna be relevant. They're gonna enjoy it. We're gonna enjoy talking shit about it for 35 to 45 minutes.
We're not going to enjoy consuming it.
We're not gonna enjoy consuming it because the Snyder Cut, for those of you that don't know, is 4 hours long.
We're gonna have to take like an intermission or something.
We're gonna be able to pause it whenever.
No,
Isaac and I paused Batman and Superman like 7 times every hour.
It took us like four hours to watch a 3-hour
movie.
Well, because we'd pause it and try to process what had just happened.
Plus, I'm asking a lot of questions because like I'm new to it, so it's like
he doesn't know all the background build-up that happened before the Snyderverse.
Even like Man of Steel, I saw once like a million.
Yeah, there isn't really a whole lot of build-up though, which is the problem.
Well, there is. There was a lot of talk about what was happening behind the scenes at the time.
Oh, well, okay. Are you talking about behind the scenes? I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I would like pause it at certain points and we discuss some shit that maybe he didn't understand.
So you were giving him like the Evan commentary.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
If you're watching a movie with me, you're not going to get through without me talking at least 50 times.
Well, we talked a lot about like contextually like how it worked in hand with like some of the like graphic novelizations we've read. So I mean, we talked because I'm getting into that as well. I'm starting to read some of the Batman comics.
It's very important to, especially with the DCEU as far as it stood with Zack Snyder. You have to have some knowledge of the comics, whereas the MCU allowed you to get into it without having any knowledge.
Which I think is why it's better. It was more accessible.
But for us fucking nerds over here, we knew stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and then having drinking, like if you have played some of the games, I think that helps too.
Thank you, Braun.
That's a Tyrion reference.
Thank you, Tyrion Braun.
Tyrion Braun.
But anyway, I think that does it for the Chub this week, boys.
Absolutely, Chub.
We're gonna go watch 2017's Justice League.
I'm really excited. I heard it's great.
If you don't hear from us, it's because we all killed ourselves.
Yes.
All right. See you next week.
Bye bye.
I think that was one of our more on-topic episodes.
Yeah.